Hello, welcome to episode 46 of Adventures in Pop. And today, what I'm going to do is preview my brand new single called Free, and also give you a little bit of information about my forthcoming album. So stand by for episode 46. Thank you. Let's start with the exciting news of the new birth of an album, shall we? Now, look, obviously, this has been kind of building up through the course of 2021, and so this is how it works. From the beginning of the year, with the first single, which was "I Think I Love You," through to the one that's coming out tomorrow, which is called "Free." That altogether, inclusively, that is 10 singles that I've released during the course of this year, which has been great fun. And thank you for, listening and paying attention. Well, even just a little bit of the time, that's really nice. And from the beginning of this year, you will have noticed that the covers of all of these singles that I've released have obviously, come from the same place. They are a series. They're all animals with their mouths open, oddly. And I'm going to show you a few of these on the screen as we continue here. But so the plan at the beginning of the year was to make sure that, as I've done before, that I release singles that obviously visually are all kind of coming from the same place and therefore are going to form one collection. The album is going to be called Me and My Big Mouth. I don't know why I thought that was a really good idea, but if you go back to I Think I Love You, the track that came out at the end of January in 2021, there is a line in there, a repeated line, in fact, Me and My Big Mouth. And I just quite liked it, and I thought, actually, that's quite fitting for for everything I'm doing, for all this blah, blah, blah of talking to you guys on my video casts. And of course, all the songs. It's a lot of stuff being put out. It's a lot of product content. So I guess it's fitting, isn't it, to acknowledge that it must come from somebody who's got quite a big mouth. So that's me. It's going to be my fourth album. And it's going to come out sometime early in 2022. So my plan is this. Free comes out tomorrow, then I think that will be the last single that I'm going to release. That'll be the 10th single, as I say. And although the album is likely to have 12 tracks on it, I thought it might be quite a nice idea to actually leave a couple of tracks not released on the album for people to discover on the album. Because last year, I released 12 tracks during the course of 2020, and then when I released the album, I kind of thought, that's a bit boring because everyone's heard everything. So I'm holding a couple back for the release of the album. And as I say, the album Me and My Big Mouth, my fourth album, will be out early in 2022. That's very exciting, and you heard it here first. Okay, let's talk about the new single. This is quite interesting, and once again, we're in the realm of talking about political songs. And I mentioned once before that there are plenty of political songs that I've written that never really see the light of day because I guess I think I put a bit of a higher bar for them to get over than maybe I do with my other songs, because I think it's so easy to get it so wrong. So I'm taking a bit of a chance with this one. The 10th track on this album, Me and My Big Mouth, it's called Free, as I say, and it's basically inspired by Black Lives Matter, and in particular, a video that I watched last summer. It was just, it was basically a rant on YouTube from Billy Porter. Now, Billy Porter's the guy, if you've been watching Pose at all on the BBC over the last year or so, Billy Porter's the guy, he's the guy in the club. He's kind of like the master of ceremonies in the club, and obviously, plays an important role in the whole story. He's a really good actor. He certainly has plenty to say on certain issues around, certainly race and sexuality, and in the, in the kind of the wake and the noise and the grief of the death of George Floyd, he posted a YouTube video last summer. It was about a quarter of an hour long. I do recommend, in fact, I will put a link to it underneath this. So do take a look. And in that video, which is very eloquent, I think he'd actually written out for himself exactly what he was going to say. So although it's a rant, it's quite a rehearsed rant and maybe a little bit stilted because of that. But nonetheless, he's saying good things, and I'm with him all the way. In that video, he says at one point, none of us are free until all of us are free. And I know that's not an entirely original line, but I thought that's so powerful, and I really love that line. And I think it's obviously kind of true, isn't it? And in a funny way, not only is it true about, racial prejudice and police brutality, which was the spur for Black Lives Matter, but in a funny way, it's also true for COVID, isn't it? That none of us are free until everybody's free. And so it does have a kind of an extra poignancy, I think. So on the video that I'm going to leave you with today, I've actually taken that sentence from what Billy Porter says from that video and stuck it onto the front and the back of the video just to kind of ram home the point. Because in the song, I sing that line, we're not free until everybody's free, and I sing that several times. That's basically the core of the song, and that the song's called Free. So this is a tricky one, isn't it? Look, I'm a nice middle class white guy of a certain age, so I could go there. So I can't pretend, because it'd be silly, wouldn't it? I can't pretend that I'm anything other than a middle class, middle-aged white guy. So it's not my lived experience. So I'm seeing this through other people's eyes and understanding the wider implications, i.e., if the police are racist and attacking black people in America, then I get that from the point of view of all the other minorities that also get persecuted by the police or by other, bodies, institutions, and I'm drawing those parallels. I'm generalizing. I'm making it as universal as I can. And why not? I think, one fight is everybody's fight. And the thing that's so interesting about all of that Black Lives Matter in the aftermath of George Floyd being murdered, the thing that was really fascinating was how it did absolutely cross the globe. So there were Black Lives Matters protests going on in so many different countries, in countries that really, you would think they have no real association with the way that the police behave in America, and yet people were doing two things. They were empathizing, and in a way that was forcing them to, out onto the streets with placards and being motivated and active and angry, which was quite interesting to see, and not a bad thing either. But I think also people were translating it into their own situations, because, I'm sure there are a lot of countries that have problems with their police forces, and this country is no exception. And what I'm doing in this song is being quite careful not to give you a solution. I mean, can you imagine? Man in West London has the answer. I doubt it. Um, so all I'm saying is, in this song, I'm saying, I wonder if we can change, um, and we're not free until everybody's free, and it's big. And I'm also saying, you can't do nothing. You've got to do something. Now that's not very explicit, is it? It's not. It's not an instruction. It's just we have to, you know, look at ourselves in the mirror and think, what is it that I can do? Not what are they doing over there, but what is it that I can do? What is the contribution I can make to help this situation? And I know that's a little bit vague and optimistic, but I think if more people did stop and just think, it includes me, that would probably be helpful, wouldn't it? Be quite constructive. And let me just say one thing. The Metropolitan Police, in particular, in this country, okay, maybe they're not quite as brutal and as out of control as it seems that many parts of the American police force are, but my goodness, they're pretty bad. And they have been found out recently to be institutionally racist from way back at the Stephen Lawrence killing, but since then institutionally corrupt and institutionally homophobic. So they're really on to they're on their way to the royal flush of all the different bigotries, and they don't seem to be doing anything about it because I think they don't see it, and if they don't see it, they're not going to change it. So we have a problem there, and it is the behaviour of the police that more than anything has galvanised this movement. So look, I'm being careful not to pronounce, great insight in this song. It would be just silly and rather presumptuous. Having said that, though, I wanted to write it, so there was enough motivation to want to say something, even if I'm having to pick my way carefully through whatever message you're going to hear in this song. And I want to say something about the video as well, because I had a bit of fun with the video. I was thinking, what do I find that can kind of represent the words in the song? And it was very easy to find lots and lots of images of huge protests, and it goes back to my point about protests all over the world. There were images of protests in different languages, and I've managed to feature some of that in the video. But then I also thought, actually, I ought to give this a bit of a broader context. So we do have a bit of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, the guys from the 1968 Olympics who stood on the podium with their Black Power fist in a glove and then got into loads of trouble, and I don't think they were allowed back at an Olympics. Well done, Olympics, way to go. So that's a really iconic image of that moment in 1968. I was very, very young, so I don't really remember it, so I just know about it in retrospect. What else have I put in there? Then a bunch. Oh yes, quite a lot of taking the knee, because that's been a really interesting thing. So taking the knee, which started, one guy in the States who got into lots of trouble from Donald Trump, for being un-American. Predictable, really, isn't it? But then that also spread across the world, and we still have at every Premier League and many, many other football games in this country, they are still starting every match with the taking of the knee, and I roundly applaud that. I think it's a very good thing, and it creates a conversation, and long may they do it. I think my view is they should do it for as long as they want to do it, and good on them. So it's interesting how that's really spread, and so I'm featuring a little bit of that imagery in the video as well. And then, I guess a little bit controversially, then I've picked some iconic people. And this is very subjective, isn't it? So I've just picked some people who I think, you know, have changed in a very small way, have changed people's views. So I've got there's a little teeny bit of Beyonce. I mean, she's not my favourite singer, but she's done good things. You will notice Muhammad Ali, and you'll notice Naomi Campbell. I mean, it's quite eclectic, but they're all there. Lil Nas, just because I'm into him at the moment, etc. So you'll spot all the faces, and that's a game you can play. Fun for all the family at Christmas is spotting, putting a name to all of the faces in this video. Okay, so look, I'm always a little bit nervous when it is a political song. It's much easier, I guess, just to sing about, you know, you don't love me anymore, or you do love me now, or whatever it is. But it's more of a challenge, I think, to get a song like this out. Oh, and I even changed the words. I came back to it and I changed the words. I changed a bit about the statue in Bristol being pushed into the sea, and pushed into the harbour, and I put a line about that in, and then I managed to find some very nice, clear imagery of that exact moment of the statue being toppled into the harbour. It's quite fun. But I'm also saying in the song, you can push every statue into the sea, but we're not free until everybody's free. It doesn't fundamentally make much difference, does it? It might be a fun thing to do, but we had then a whole big discussion in this country, argument, I guess, in this country about, you know, the role of our statues, and should we be pulling them all down and throwing them away, or putting them in a museum, or giving them some context so we know what they, you know, who they are and what role they played, both good and bad. So some of that conversations happened. So it became a very live topic. So look, you know, I'm aware that all of this was raging, you know, a year and 3 or 4 months ago, and is raging a lot less now, although, as I say, we still have the taking the knee. But I guess that is a good reason for putting it out rather than not putting it out, because you know, one of the question I'm asking really is, you know, can we change, or will everything stay the same? That's another insightful and profound line from the song. Good. Okay, so look, I'm going to leave you with the video of Free. Do go and check it out, and download and stream and share with your friends. And by the way, if you're enjoying this series, why not subscribe? It's a lovely thing to do. And if you're not enjoying the series, then I suggest you don't, because, you know, you should only be subscribing to things you really like. But it'd be lovely if you did. And I'm going to leave you the video, and I will see you again, well, before Christmas. I don't think I'm signing off for Christmas yet. There's another week or so. I'm sure there'll be something else out next week. But for videocast number 46, for now, you take care. I have to say that with a little bit more emphasis when you look at our fabulous Omicron numbers. We didn't even know what Omicron was 2 weeks ago, and now it's all over the place. So look after yourself, be good, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
It's about a demand for the respect for our humanity, like we respect everybody else's, because none of us are free till we all are free.
Oh, can't do nothing. You gotta do something. The way I see it, if you're asking me, we're not free until everybody's free. Yeah, that's right. Listen to me, we're not free till everybody's free. So there's just one question we hear again and again. Can we change, or will everything stay the same? You can't do nothing. You gotta do something. You can't do nothing. You gotta do something. The way I see it, if you're asking me, we're not free until everybody's free. Oh yeah, that's right. Come and sing it with me. We're not free until everybody's free. This is global. It goes across every border. It's kind of fundamental. It means a change in the old world order. People of color and LGBTQ. It's about gender. It starts me and you. The way I see it, if you're asking me, we're not free until everybody's free. You can push every statue into the sea, but we're not free till everybody's free. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? The way I see it, if it's up to me, we're not free till everybody's free. The way I see it, if you're asking me, oh, we're not free till everybody's free. The way I see it.